everything you need to know in order to create R&B samples and melodies. So let's get into it. Alright, so BPM. The best advice I can give you is to just look up a song that you like and go with that BPM. Because I know some of you need those exact numbers, 80 and 90, or if you want to make like more trap R&B, like 120, it's like 145, 150 is a pretty good range. So for modern R&B beats, they typically have some sort of chord progression. Everything that you build within the beat is kind of going to be based off of your chord progression. I'm just going to be using my new bank textures. It's great for R&B and other types of beats, and it comes as an analog bank as well as a one-shot kit. So if you don't have analog labs, you can still enjoy this bank. And the first sound I'm going to be using here today is called evergreens. And so right here, I've laid out just these bottom notes, and all you want to do is pick out 4 bottom notes and make sure that they sound good together. And then build chords off of them. So hold shift and then just pull it over with your mouse, then move it up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that will sound good as we're just building a major or a minor chord from here. Either go up 2, this will be a minor chord, or 3, which will be a major chord. The notes line up here, this lines up with this. Then it's probably going to sound good. So it lines up with right here. Will probably sound good as well. Now from here, if you want to make your chords sound a little bit bigger and a little bit more full, let's add another note. So you can go either up 2 or 3 here. This lines up, so we'll go with that. And then right here, let's add another note to make this chord bigger, and let's just line this up right here. And let's take out a note and just see how it sounds. There's a few things you can do to kind of change it up or spice it up. One, you can just change the lengths. Just make sure it goes in a pattern. So if we did something like this, then we'd want to also make this the same length on this side. And then another thing we can do is we can just transpose notes. So it's going to be the same chord, but we'll just move certain notes down or up. So for example, now the next thing that I recommend doing, if you want it to sound like realistic and just have like more of a human feel, as this sounds pretty robotic right now, just do Alt-R to randomize the velocities. So just play with this knob right here. Hold Alt and just click on notes and just move them just barely, so they're not all hitting at the same time. Another option you can use that's less tedious is to just go to Alt-S, just turn on the strum, and this is going to strum them. In the description, I have a $5 MIDI chord pack. Definitely feel free to check out. Layering your sounds, a lot of people have trouble with. So the simplest way to think about it when you're layering your sounds is, what is the first sound that I'm using? What is it adding to the beat? And what do you think is it missing? So if we look at this sound right here. One thing that you could maybe add to it is something that makes it, when the note first hits, it has a little bit more impact. So right here, I just found this sound from my bank, and it's called Fugi. Not my best name choice. And then all you're gonna do is copy the exact same chords over. And then the basic mixing I'm doing for this right now is I'm just cutting off about 200 Hertz. I did that to the other sound as well. And the only other thing I'm doing is I'm panning this a bit to the left and the other sound a bit to the right. This is really where I see people make the most mistakes when making R&B beats. Typically, they're gonna have somebody singing over the beat. And in order to allow them to be creative, let their vocals shine, you really can't overdo it with your counter melodies. So let me give you a couple of options and things you can do to still add to your beat and keep it interesting, but not overdo it and make it so it's impossible to sing on. Next sound we're using, called Dylan's Electric. So the first thing you do is kind of creating some sort of ARP. It looks really complicated, but it's overall very simple. I'm just tracing over all of the notes in these chords right here. And the only reason this is down here and it looks like it's not on a note on the chord is just because I moved this down an octave, just to add some variation, as it'll sound kind of nice right here with the contrast. So the cool thing about that is it kind of speeds up the pace a little bit, and because it's so constant, it's not going to get in the way of an artist's vocals. And your next option and here I'm more so kind of focused on a rhythm really. You can just play the beat, put notes on the exact same note throughout, so I can just do this. And then just slowly move notes onto different notes in the chords and kind of figure out, okay, what actually sounds good here. And that's a lot easier than just trying to go through and figure out both the rhythm and where the notes sound good. Now, the key to getting a professional modern R&B sound is it's creating textures. And I'm gonna show you guys 3 different methods that you can use to create them. So first way, got the most R&B flute ever, the death flute. Pick a note within your chord. In this case, I just chose all the top notes. And let's hear it without any effects. You could add something like that and you might just find a sound that's straight out the box. It's good. It creates like a kind of ambience or texture. But if you want to take it a step further, Free Love filter would be good. I'd recommend the simple triangle low pass. And for this, I've turned down the volume a little bit and maybe turn up the resonance. Basically, all you have to do is get some sort of drum like percussion loop. Either leave it the same way, or I often like to reverse it, and you'll get something like this. Just grab some sort of vocal. You can use something like Arcade, Exhale, actual vocal chops, and just kind of chop them up. I use this sound called Hey Ya Shake, which makes me feel a little bit better about the naming of my sounds, because that name sucks. And when you do this, you don't need to fill up every space. You kind of just want to do this sparingly. If we want to just glue our samples together, you want a bass line. If you want to make something for like an artist like Daniel Caesar, that kind of like R&B, you'll probably want to use a real bass. Ample bass too is a good free option. But if you want to make something that's more like Drake, Brent Faiyaz, you're going to want to use like a dark synth bass. I'm just using this synth bass. It's called Grime, also from my Bank Textures. And for this one, I opted to just keep it really simple and throw it on the root notes. Now, if you didn't want such a static bass line, add some notes towards the end of each one of these notes. So right here, I'm just tracing notes on the chord again. Alright, so next step, you need to add the drums. So check out this video and it'll show you everything you need to know.